If you want to write better copy and you want more clients as a copywriter, then get off the internet. Hey, this is Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. I just got my copy, the initial copy of a newsletter from Craig Simpson. He's a direct marketer. He runs a mail shop. He runs campaigns for big companies. And it is a near perfect example of a prospect newsletter. Now, I've been talking about prospect newsletters for a long time, and I've used them on and off in the past. I would like to start using them again, but this is a near perfect example. I subscribed. I think I paid $79 for this newsletter from the Simpson Direct, I think is the website. It comes and has 3 examples, 3 issues that literally look like he printed them out of his own inkjet printer, which is fine, a special report, and then an offer, all in a flat envelope. It is a beautiful example of well-written copy that informs, that educates, and that gets me prepared to do business with him over anybody else. And it's something that you can do yourself. Each letter is 1 page, front and back, very simple. And it's similar to the letters that you'll find in Dan Kennedy's Magnetic Marketing series. So magnetic marketing is you send letters, and the letter offers some kind of special report. The individual asks for the special report. The report covers mistakes or problems they might be facing, and then provides a series of solutions, and then explains why those solutions don't always work, and then finally offers some kind of action where they can get a solution tailored just for them. It's beautiful. The letters themselves are very informative. In fact, when I opened this package, I couldn't resist but to read every piece of material in the package. Now, I glanced over the copywriting mistakes or the marketing mistakes that were there because I didn't really feel I needed to read every word of that. I want to sit down and read that later when I get a little more time. But I read the individual letters. I read the introduction that told me what to expect. Thank you for subscribing to this newsletter. You're going to get every couple of weeks a letter from me, and it's going to have information and resources. And, welcome aboard. It's actually a paid subscription. I'm trying to find resources that I can view offline because I just don't want to spend that much time on the computer. And that's my message for you today. If you're a copywriter, business development professional, or marketer, you need to step away from the computer. There are too many distractions on there. Social media, yes, it seems like a medium to get customers, but time and time again, those customers that are most easily obtained are not often of most value. Social media is an exchange of attention for monetary value, and you're not getting that monetary value. So again, I use social media to do research on topics and research on individuals, because it turns out people share a lot of stuff they shouldn't be sharing online, but it's enough information to find their home address, for example, or their work address so that you can send them a letter. Now, people still receive mail. I know the post office is having problems. They've been having problems since the 1970s. I know that other providers are having problems. And yes, it would be so much easier if they taxed email and you knew that it cost you something rather than the time that's wasted by having misunderstandings on email. I know you can automate email, but it turns out you can also, and this is why I mentioned Craig Simpson, you can also automate your mailings as well. So I used to work with a mailing house in Virginia Beach. And if you want a referral for a mailing house and you're in the Virginia Beach area, this is Communicate Direct is the best place I've ever worked with. But I would literally give them an Excel spreadsheet of addresses and a PDF file, and it would just magically go. I'd get a proof. They would show me it in the envelope and everything. But I'd get a proof. It would just go. The job would print out. Now, we had talked about setting up 12 newsletter issues, and they would just basically click them off every month, manage my list and everything for me. Now, that spreadsheet I gave them, when they're done with it, they would give it back to me, and it would actually have some appended columns that would tell me if the address was bad, if it failed CAS certification, and all these other things. Now, Craig Simpson can do this kind of stuff too at a larger scale, but there's a local mail shop in your region who can do this at 200 letters a month, at 500 letters a month. And I was at the point where I was doing about 500 letters a week, and it literally was use list A, here's the PDF files. Send this one this week, send this one next week. And they would basically put their return address on it. And when the letters come back, they would just tick them off the list, and they would basically purge out those that what's called NIXI, bounce back. And they would then send to what remains on the list. My job was to let them know which individuals responded so that they could be removed from the list. Now, today, this is so much easier. You could have that shared spreadsheet on both a Microsoft platform or on the Google platform. You could have this information sent automatically from your customer relationship management system, but it is not that difficult to be offline. Now, another place to be offline would be magazines and publications. Actual space advertising in magazines and publications or renting their mailing lists puts you in front of qualified prospects. And that's really what it's about. If you're just posting stuff up on social media, hoping and wishing that someday somebody's going to find you, it doesn't work that way. At least it doesn't work that way now. And now that the social media platforms are monetizing attention, they are ignoring that content that does not get attention. My content does not get attention. I'll tell you that right now. My website has near zero visitors. It has near zero search engine traffic. It has my social media has near zero. And when I say near zero, a few hundred people, but I suspect they're mostly robots. Okay. Now, what my sites do have is periodically I'll have one or two highly qualified leads show up. I know that when I send postcards and I send letters, I get phone calls. And the phone calls, of course, I put into my tracking, so I know what's working and what's not. But I have a consistent load of paying clients because of the structure of how I put together my business. Now, I'm doing a lot of technical writing. I'm doing copywriting for myself, and I'm doing some persuasion materials in the copywriting side. But ultimately, my book of business is full doing things offline. Now, I do this haphazardly, and I really would argue against being haphazard about this. The best way is to produce your letters and materials and package them up and send them to a mailing house who will send them out for you. And I can understand that could seem expensive. You're looking at $1 a letter minimum. You're looking at the handling of that. And then if they have to do any list correction, you're looking at paying for list correction. Yet I would argue that if you're able to get customers now versus customers later, that you might be more busy doing assignments, and what it costs you every month to get a prospect newsletter out, to get a letter series out, is really quite small. And more importantly is that if you do the cycles that we talk about, like a postcard campaign and then a letter campaign, and you keep your mailing list active, then that mailing list is available for joint ventures, cooperative marketing activities, and other types of campaigns. You could even send affiliate marketing down these lists if you need it to make that list monetize itself. You'll have a list of 100, 1,000, maybe 10,000 names, and you'll know which of those are customers and which of those are not, which are buyers and which ones are not. And you can even then follow up with remarketing or retargeting off your website and the social media tools, focusing on individuals that have shown an interest, focusing on individuals who are pre-qualified, focusing on individuals who are ready to do business rather than just kicking tires or stimulated by a headline and essentially not really thinking about the solutions that you have to offer. Now, as a copywriter, marketer, or business development professional, you want to go after customers, not chasing them, but getting in front of them and their problems in a way that positions yourself as the only qualified expert. I did a proposal about a couple weeks ago for about $32,000 for a particular type of assignment that the person sought me out for. Now, they didn't like the price. They thought it was too much, but that's okay. I don't have to get the $32,000, but I'm not going to do it for less, because for the amount of work and the contractors and the subs that will be involved in it, for the activity that's involved, for the equipment and the time, it's not worth doing for less than that particular amount. Might be worth doing for you or doing for somebody else, but it's not worth for me. So this assessment I put together provided them enough information that they could go make a decision about the purchase. But if they're going to do it with me, it's $32,000, just the way it is. My point being is, when I was talking with a contractor and they're asking, well, how do you get these assignments? How do you get these jobs? How do you get to do these things? I could clearly explain how that customer came in and the 15 other things that are going on to get other customers. It was a system. It was part of my marketing plan. And yes, it's not very consistent. It needs to be more consistent. In fact, I'd like to have a marketing coordinator whose only job was to get these things out consistently. But I digress. My point being is that if you have a few letters that go out that introduce your concepts and topics, qualify the individual and give them an opportunity to contact you for additional details or to have a consultation or to go through a 26-minute assessment, then you are in a better position than if you're just sending stuff out online. The same materials out online where people's attention is fragmented, where you're competing with Google and Apple and search engines and Facebook for this person's attention versus simply sending them a postcard or a letter. Now, in a business-to-business environment, many of your postcards are going to go in the trash. Okay, it's going to be hard to get a postcard past the gatekeeper because it's real obvious what it is. Now, you can use event notifications. So a postcard that looks like an event reminder. You can use a postcard that's an invitation. Just wanted to remind you that you're invited to attend such and such a webinar. And then you get them on the webinar, and then you can do your presentation on the webinar. You can also have postcards that are reservations. So a copy of XYZ special report has been reserved for you at your request because you're so-and-so. And, please contact our offices or we'll have to hand it to somebody else. The gatekeeper has to see it as something that is valuable. Otherwise, you can send just what Gary Halbert calls white mail. So it would be a regular envelope, typed on address, return address, and a stamp. No teaser copy or anything. The prospect newsletter works really well, especially the way Craig Simpson is doing it, because I'm paying for this subscription. So there's an expectation of value. The material I receive actually has value, but there's also a freestanding insert in there that offers something of value. Yes, offers something. So in this welcome package, there was a cover letter, 3 issues of the newsletter, a mistakes report, and a sales letter that basically offered a initial consultation. And see, all that will pay for itself. If your initial consultation is a couple $100 and you get somebody who's paying you $79 to receive your mail, or $69 or $97, then all you need is 1 or 2 sales here and there in order to break even. And that breaking even has qualified individuals as interested in what you've got to offer or not interested. Now, you might be saying paper, that's not environmentally friendly. It's more environmentally friendly on the computer. Well, I'll argue with that. In fact, I have a very high interest in environmental markets. The electricity on the computer and the waste of paper is about the same. So most paper, you can get a high recycled content, and you can also get paper that degrades, so paper that can be recycled. And it is, if sustainably produced, it is less carbon than the way most people are creating electricity these days. Plus, your email message saved in a folder somewhere requires electricity to be recalled every time it's recalled for time immemorial, where a paper document requires physical space for storage, yet doesn't require any additional energy to maintain. And a lot of times I take these newsletters and I do catalog them and I file them because I go back and I reference these newsletters. If it's worth me paying for, it's worth me to invest in. And that's a secret, by the way, when you're writing. If you're writing a prospect newsletter, you need to write content that's worth keeping. But ultimately, there is no environmental argument with paper. There's only a perception because sending electronic medium saves the sender a tremendous amount of money. Okay, so the banks want you to have electronic statements because you'll pay more late fees that way, and you'll ultimately take on all the expense of maintaining those records. They don't have to print anything. And ultimately, the email and those types of conversations are easily lost because they're difficult to read on the screen for most people. Try it. Simply send a letter. Take some of your blog posts, turn them into a quick little one-page newsletter and send them out with some kind of offer. Your special report can be an 11 by 17 folded in half, which would give you 4 panels, and that's a very simple special report. Your cover letter can be the actual newsletter itself. The special report can do a Frank Kern results in advance, where you're sharing some insights and helping them make better decisions, and then you're making an offer at the end of the report. Or you can do things that are more elaborate. Agora has a number of newsletters that are very detailed newsletters for the price you're paying, but they nearly always include 2 or 3 offers. So that next step offer. So imagine your prospect, highly qualified, you've searched them out, they're on your Dream 100 list, and they are receiving 12 times a year some kind of useful newsletter. They're receiving weekly or even bi-weekly some kind of letter or some kind of informational note. And ultimately, when they need to make a decision, who will they make a decision with? Well, it'll most likely be you. You do need to be consistent. It works like clockwork if you're consistent. You can count the number of letters mailed and know exactly how many new clients you're going to get. But even if you're not as consistent, it's better than nothing. It's better than tweeting and posting and Instagramming and doing whatever the hell's new this year and hoping and wishing something happens. You can seriously go get their full contact information from LinkedIn, mail them a letter in the mail, and start segmenting your lists. Start identifying prospects, start getting people on webinars and events. I'm not saying you don't need to do webinars and events, but you can offer a CD of the webinar you did last week to all the people who didn't attend and who you have their postal addresses to. And that seems like a valuable gift, but it only costs you about $1 per CD to mail out. Anyway, I'm Justin Hitt from Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. We're helping you both with words that sell and the business of copywriting. If you have any questions about this or anything else we cover, you can visit us at www.adbriefings.co.uk. And this has been about getting off the damn internet and getting in front of buyers. Thanks for listening.